Hey guys, it's John. In this video, I want to break down a key framework you can use to take more conversations onto calls. We're going to cover 3 key things you need in order for this to happen. We're going to go over what builds trust and what leads to more conversations being converted and being responded to. We're going to go over the key things you need to cover within these conversations, and we're actually going to break that down into a 5-step strategy to cover all the bases so you know exactly what you need to do, what you need to say, how you're going to cover it, and in your own way. No bollocks scripts here, just an understanding of frameworks and what you can use to develop more interest and convert more of that online. So by the end of this video, you can have absolute clarity on what you need to say in conversations, how you need to approach it in a way that suits you, but also develops the most interest in that person to help them out the most and get them signed up into your service. So first off, it's not about what you say. It's not about the quality of the DM script, because it's really irrelevant if you're speaking to someone who doesn't trust you or know you from Adam. So this tea bag here represents the words you use, or I'm just going to put script per se. Now, no matter how good the tea is or how much you spend on this tea bag, it's worthless if it's brewed in a cold cup of tea. In fact, it doesn't brew. Now, if you're American watching, in Britain, we drink tea hot. Just imagine this is coffee, because again, you can't brew coffee in cold water. It's the same principle, but it's not all about the words you use. It's about the conditions on how you deliver them and what you're delivering to. So you've got to understand how is trust formed. This is partly within content, the role of content, but also it's to do with the manner of your approach and the objective behind it. So this delightfully phallic symbol here is actually a thermometer. Relax. But in essence, you've got different temperature levels within a conversation, and you've just got to understand what increases the temperature, what increases trust, and what doesn't. And one of my clients is fantastic at this, Angus. He is really good at building trust with his following. And one of the key things you can do, because at the top you've got high trust, and at the bottom you've got low trust. The best things you could do is use voice notes, because again, it's you, it's real. It shows you've taken the time, care, and effort to message that person rather than a copy and paste script. It just builds an instant connection, and they can hear the tonality in your voice straight away. They also see you on content and they hear you speaking directly to them. It just feels more personal. And guess what? This is an extension of your service. It can feel like. So going above and beyond just to send voice notes, it increases the volume of people coming back and responding, and also it leads to higher trust. So voice notes are absolutely key. One of the worst things you can do is a copy and paste message, or using AI where it's clearly AI. I've had other clients utilize AI services where they send out messages. It's so painfully obvious. People have generally said, this is just an AI bot, and it's blindingly clear. Many chats slightly different, but again, it's just not as good as sending voice notes. The second thing that leads to high trust is helping up front. And again, not trying to go after pushing them into a lead magnet, offering something out, offering help where it's not needed. It's just being genuine, being a human being, asking how they are up front, or just trying to resonate, ask why they followed, and just see how you can help them further. Asking what they're most interested in. How can we help them further? And the inverse of that is asking, how's training going? It's not 2023 anymore. We've moved on since then, but people get so used to coaches messaging them, trying to progress them. Just being a human being up front and just taking a little bit of time to actually get to know and build a connection and sell them on you first rather than selling your service. It's a very small distinction, but just be personable. And then that's another thing, is human first, coach second. So again, this is trying to seek connection points beyond just what you do for a living. And then slightly lower trust is asking questions up front too quickly. So this can happen on first point of contact, but you've got to understand that trust is malleable, and it's about nurturing and connecting the right way, which we're going to go into in the framework very shortly. But it's building this over time. The longer you can wait between giving and expecting a result, the better. That's what actually builds brand value, builds trust. It's that giving without expectation. So off the back of that, you can give in many different ways. If you've got long form content, you can send them there. If you've got resources, you can send them there. And that's the ultimate. And then lastly, you can help one-to-one. Doing that first as due diligence, and then if there's interest off the back of that, you're going to get much higher response rate, much more people coming through. And remember, everyone wants to look bigger and leaner, or look happy and healthier, or just feel better in themselves and more confident in their own skin. They want what you have to offer. They want to buy, but they hate being sold to. And the only difference between those two things is how it comes across and how you connect and how you go about that process. But the second key point to cover is understanding what actually leads people to go from nurturing and just casual conversation into interest and intent to buy. Because a lot of clients struggle with this. How do I go from just helping people up front to mentioning my service? And even before we get into that, there's actually two phrases you can use straight away. So if you've given out help and people are saying thank you or they're reporting in good feedback, you can use the phrase of like, look, I'm really glad that's helped you. Have you considered the results you get if we work together? It's a very simple thing you can say. It's not pushy. It's not out of order. You've helped someone, but you just plant the seed. Conversely, if they haven't had much progress and you've given out resources and you've followed up, asked for feedback and see how they got on, and if they haven't taken action, you can say, well, I would love to offer something else, but to be honest, it doesn't like you need more information. It might be implementation that you need help with. Is that correct? Or does that sound right? Does that sound fair? Does that sound accurate? So there's a couple of things you can say to move conversations a little bit more towards helping someone and away from the nurturing phase. Big thing that helps Shane is this understanding of giving clarity to the right problem for that person. Because Shane did this, he did it on stories really well, effectively, where he broke down client case studies and he referenced some of the struggle points. And then he put up polls, he put up quizzes and Q&As, people would respond. And in one-to-one conversations, what he would do, he would ask about their problems. And then the more you figure out about what they've tried before, what the specificity of their goal is. Again, people don't know what their actual goal is. They have a vague understanding, but getting very clear on this. And again, what I'm trying to illustrate here is if you start to clear their vision and remove the fog from the window, metaphor, people then start to see through it, and that starts to build urgency and excitement. More detail you can give on the specificity of their goal, what they're trying to achieve, other clients achieving it, what the steps would take, and then some clarity on why they might not have seen success in the past because of X reason or Y reason. They probably experienced this, they probably experienced that. It starts to clear the vision for what's ahead and give them the hope and likelihood that they too can get a result. They too can see a benefit, and it's not just them. It's not their own personal fault. There's just clear reasons that they've struggled with, that other people have struggled with, and this is the outcome. This is the trajectory. This is the solution. So what drives people forward and actually the willingness to take action is giving them that clarity. Give them that clear vision of what the problem is, isolating it, but also what the outcome would be. So they have a really good understanding that this is going to be different because they're carrying with them so much stigma, so much false belief, and so much broken belief systems because they've tried loads of things, but it hasn't worked because they probably haven't implemented, but they think it's them. But there's a solution to every problem. They just internalize it, own the mistakes, own the failure, and think it's a personal thing. So when you clear that window and you give that clear perception of what's ahead and they have good clarity on it, that creates a lot more excitement, a lot more urgency because they believe they can actually get that return that they've really wanted. And what you're trying to do here is you're trying to create a light bulb moment. If you think about this, we've got this penny dropping here. When you put coins in a vending machine, obviously nothing happens until the coin lands, and then that's when you get your return. It's that action happens when the penny drops. And you're trying to create that moment in the conversations throughout the middle of this next process, which we're going to cover right now. So there are 5 key stages that I highly recommend you take people through, because I see a lot of coaches make the mistake of just thinking it's a tick box exercise of I've got to get X many conversations off the ground, I've got to tick this many boxes for leads, I've got this many calls, this many people will come through. And that is bullshit because it's such legacy thinking of trying to process people through a system, and it's missing the whole point of this exercise. This should do 80% of the sale. I don't know why, but coaches still expect that they're going to nail the sales call, that everything's going to happen on a sales call, by which the resistance towards sales calls is only increasing. So you're having to take someone who's a little bit resistant, and if they're not pre-sold or pre-framed correctly, your work is infinite. You've got to do so much on that call, and I believe it or not, most coaches do not have the sales skills to take someone from completely cold into someone who is ready and burning to buy. But not just buy, but stay on, stay excited, because it's not about a kind of finite sale. It's about starting a relationship with a client which could quit within 2 days. So again, it's not just the event of the sale, it's how they enter the business and how they look and view you and their first expectations and everything like that. So this is why I don't obsess about objection handling at the end to qualify. I obsess about pre-framing objections and pre-selling instead, because context matters. And in order for you to get that sales skill to such a degree, you'd have to take a stupid amount of calls anyway. You'd have to do 10 calls a day. to build the sales skill to cold close and warm someone up to that degree where they want to come through. And I don't think most coaches have the ability to generate enough inbound traffic, enough inbound leads where you're getting 10 every single day and you can afford to waste that and train yourself up on the sales skills. Anyway, that's the rant over. So this is all about doing the selling for you and getting people super excited to jump on that call, not alone just pre-sold, but wanting to find out more. Firstly, we need to connect. Again, when we look back at the first slide with Angus, it's understanding that you want to be human and personable to the highest degree. Voice notes are the best for this, but again, it depends on the signal of connection. So if you're posting content, someone could follow, someone could like, someone could be watching your stories, someone could be engaging off your stories, someone could be inquiring. So again, different temperature levels depending on the different activities and different signals, but you want to connect, be personable, voice notes, or just some way to resonate with them outside of coaching directly. Not going in straight in with a question, not trying to offer help up front, but just trying to connect. You can use GIFs, memes, whatever, anything you can do with shared meaning. Again, that can do a lot of the heavy lifting because you have that shared understanding of what the meme is. So it's little things like that to connect. And basically, I'm going to draw a little line here between this and the next phase, because this is basically nurturing, what we're talking about now. And it really depends on how informed or the person you're speaking to, what part of the market they're in. Are they 3% ready to buy? Are they actively researching? Are they problem aware? Are they not problem aware? You don't know that. So you've just got to be patient, do your due diligence, and be willing to help up front without expectation of return. But if it comes across as obvious like that, you're going to build trust much more quickly. The people who want to buy right now, they'll come straight through. The people who won't, you can give them resources and give them help. For some people, it might be 2 conversations. For some people, it might be 20. Some people, it might be 200. You really don't know. But again, if you take that approach of giving without expectation, you are going to convert everyone throughout that process, and the people who will come through quickly. Those who aren't ready right now, they're not going to come through right now. You're going to force them through. But when the time is right for them, they will come through to you because you built the trust and you sold them on you first. So a lot of this is about that. It's being patient, just understanding, just reading between the lines. So you've got to connect. Then what you've got to do is you've got to find out what the goal is. And again, this is important. It's the precision of the goal, because believe it or not, most people have no clue what they want. They don't actually have an understanding what their goal is. What do you want to do? I want to lose 2 stone. If you looked identical to how you look now, but the number on a scale changed, is that what you want? Is that what you're telling me? No. So do you want to change an element of how you look? Yes. Cool, so it's that as well. Why? And you dig into it. So it's finding out precision of the goal, because once they get clarity on that, again, you clear the fog. When we talked about the window analogy, this is part of the goal and the next point on the problem. It's understanding and giving them precision and clarity on what they actually want. Getting that penny drop moment opportunity. Getting them to look forward with urgency and hope, because again, that develops excitement, interest, and that are the emotions we want people to feel when they're talking to you and they associate with you. And then they look at your service and they look at how they communicate with you, and it's exciting. Cool. So understanding what the key element of the goal is and getting good clarity on that. And then what you want to do is you want to find out the problem. And by the way, somewhere along this route, you can find out their situation. You can find out the goal or the early connecting phase, but when the situation is, cool, I'd love to help. Is this something you're looking for help with right now? Simple question you can use to find out if they're in the market, if they are actively interested. Oh, and by the way, if you have got people consuming your resources and you don't know how to progress a conversation towards your service, because a lot of coaches do struggle with that, 2 simple things. First thing is, okay, well, I love that you got a result. Have you thought about the results you get if we work together? Or have you thought about what you could achieve if we work together? And again, if they have got good returns and they are saying that to you and they are reporting in, it's a very fair thing to say. You're not being pushy, you're not being salesy. You're just making them aware, making them consider it. Now, if you've given out resources and they haven't consumed them and they haven't used them and they haven't had progress, and they're kind of making that clear and plain, and you've got good trust established and you've offered willingness to help them, you could turn around and say, well, I'd love to offer more help. I do have other resources, but to be honest, it doesn't look like you need more information. It might be more the implementation. Does that sound accurate? And again, it's just finding out where you can help them further. And then, well, I'd love to help. Let me ask you a few questions and see if I can improve the situation. And again, you're not trying to rush or progress them, you're just generally trying to help them. I feel like a stupid for overstating that, but again, so many people are fixated on money out of these people, and it's ultimately what's destroying a lot of the trust in the industry, is because people are just greedy and not thinking about the people. You get everything you want in this life if you help enough other people get what they want. I firmly believe that, but for some reason, people can't stave off their own personal interests. And the irony is, if you help other people first and you stay fixated on them, you get what you want way more quicker in way more abundance. So it is that discipline of just thinking about others first. So again, I've badgered on about that point. So you connected, you've got precision on the goal, should be a penny drop moment on that, and then you look at the problem. What are they fixing on? If there's one struggle you think that's been holding you back, what is it? I'll see what I can do to help. Find what they're struggling on. The reason you need to do this is because if you don't explain or give them clarity on their struggle, and again, if you know the problems that your clients face, the thoughts they think, the actions and behaviors they take, the emotions that then gives them once they take that action, you will be able to read their reality back to them. So when they reference the problem, you can say, oh, it sounds like this is happening. Bang, their reality. That builds so much more trust because again, it's, wow, I never looked at it like that. And again, that's another opportunity for a penny drop moment. So it's getting that precision in there. Again, builds trust, builds certainty, builds excitement, but certainty in you have the answer. All these little things lead to them wanting to jump on a call rather than, oh, well, it looks like you can pay me. It looks like you have a working face to some regard. You're fit for my service. Let's talk about a call. Just, no, it's about going through these stages, generating urgency, generating excitement, and generating clarity on what the difference will be inside your service. Again, you're dispelling the myths of, will it work for me? Well, if you clearly explain how it's different and clearly explain the reality and explain in such a way where they understand and get it, and it gives them assurance that your way will be different, again, it helps break down that resistance and that stigma. So, reference the problem, and this is so fundamental, but no coach does it. Expectations of return. Once you know what their goal is and you find out exactly what's holding them back, you can then inform them what results you'd expect given that. And the reason that's powerful is you're a doctor making a diagnosis. What's the symptoms? How's that been going on? Right, this is the thing. This is the ailment, this is the treatment, this is the outcome, based on what's worked before. I'm confident now. If you hear that and you get a good understanding of everything and you know the results you could expect, and it's explained to you in such a way, you're a lot more willing to take action and go and opt for that service or opt for that solution because you have a good expectation of what you're going to get. It's just, I can't really state it more, but so many coaches don't do it. They just ask a few questions, ask what the goal is, and they can leave that to the call. What's the point? Why do that? Why not just cover what they could expect so they have full understanding and full details so they know what it's about? And then from that point, you could actually talk about your service. And again, you haven't referenced anything you do up until this point. You leave it up to this final point is where you can explain a little element of what you do and how you do it. Before this point, you've spent the majority of the time on them, understanding them, listening to them, referencing and acknowledging them, giving expectation. And then once they've got that, it's a question of how does it work? You can briefly cover it or you can suggest a call, but that's way more exciting because at that point they've got an outline, they've got a bit of a horizon, they've got something to look forward to. Then it's just fleshing out the details of how that works and walking them through that and asking or seeing if they got any questions. This was fundamental to Pippa's success. Before Pippa went through this process, she would struggle to get one call every 2 weeks. I think she'd get probably 1 to 2 calls a month maximum. After going through this process, specifically towards the end, where we went through the expectations and we suggest a call to talk about it in more detail and give them a chance and space to ask any questions, go through the range of service options, whichever best suits them, or just worst case scenario, be more informed. Not putting that call on a pedestal, making it a continuation of the conversation. She went from 0.5 calls per week to 10 calls per week. Next week, she had 13 calls. The week after, she had 8. The week after, she had 9. Made a huge difference to people going from chit chat into tell me more. And again, it's going through these 5 points, going through them with the right expectation, executing them correctly, actually focusing on the person and not trying to process people. This is not a volume game. Less is more because you're spending time to actually convert that person and you don't need much. You do not need half the volume you think you need. Responsive rate. Once you increase the response rate with each conversation you have. So remember those 5 stages and remember the fact that trust is fundamental for all of this working, and you build that best by giving without expectation of returns. Now, if you did find this helpful, I've got a free trial to my community. There's more information below. I cover skills like this in way more detail in the community. I've got 87 videos currently in there, not just on conversational skills, but also on content, on retention, on improving your service quality, improving your communication skill, and giving everything you need to get the absolute clarity on how to attract the right clients into your business, the clients who are not only going to be a perfect fit, stay longer, pay more, get better results, but also refer their friends, but also clarity on how to improve your communication so you can increase your ability to actually help more people. The more you can help people, the better impact you're going to generate, the more fulfillment you're going to get, but also the more word of mouth you're going to get. And someone will sell your service way more than you can sell it yourself. I built my core business from scratch with the square root of fuck all exposure, all from referrals. And that massively hinges on your ability to serve people. So with all that being said, if you get loads of calls lined up, but you can't actually close someone, it's meaningless. So in the next video, I'm going to break down how to structure a sales call and convert more people on that call. And before we even go into it, relax. This is nothing to do with scripts, using pressure tactics or make people cry. It's not even about trying to pursue and close every single person. This is about using a framework we covered today, using the right questions at the right time to find out what that person wants the most and get them to tell themselves, not just you, why they value it, why they want it. So you open the door and they want to walk through it. And when you send that payment link, it gets paid then and there, if not in full. See you in the next one.